In this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create and animate SVG masks in SVGator. We're going to make 2D artwork look like it's rotating in 3D. You'll learn how to set up your clipping path groups, how to contain your graphics inside any shape, and how to animate both the mask and its contents for a seamless depth illusion. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you here is the actual artwork we're going to be working with. And it's this 2D pencil. And how do we make this look 3D using SVG masks? That's the question, right? So the animation that I want to do here is going to be kind of like a floating pencil that's kind of like moving around a little bit like this, and then it's rotating up a bit like this, and then the actual pencil should look like it's rotating. So we're gonna do a few mask tricks to make that illusion happen. So let me show you how the different parts of this pencil are built out. So let's start here with our little cute eraser, and the whole eraser is actually inside a mask. So I'm gonna release the mask to show you the different parts of it. So we have the actual eraser shape here. This is what's gonna make our mask, but this is the shape for the mask, but the actual eraser background is this one that is actually outside of the mask, because it's just a background. And then we have the face, which is going to be the same face. We have it repeated 3 times, and the animation is gonna be like this. It's gonna change its position. It's gonna go left like this, and that's gonna make the illusion that it's rotating, at least the eraser part. And what we want to do is make sure that our shape that is going to mask the rest of the parts is on top of everything else. And I forgot to mention, we also have this gradient here to make it look a little more 3D. So all we have to do is pretty much duplicate this eraser shape, which I already have here, and then put it right on top of it, and then select the rest of the shapes that we want to have in that particular mask. Then we're going to right click and create clipping path. So this way, our eraser face, when we move it to the left, is gonna stay inside our clipping path mask. And we obviously don't want it to show outside of the eraser, so that's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna rename this group to eraser all, and then I'm just gonna keep it there. I'm just gonna lock it for now to explain the rest of the artwork we have here. So the next thing we have is the actual body of the pencil. In the body, something very similar is happening here. We have a pattern, which is basically the background that we have here in the pencil, and it's just a bunch of like stripes that we have. It's just like blue and then like a black stroke. So like a long rectangle repeated 9 times. So that's going to be the pattern for our pencil. And it's going to do exactly the same that our eraser is doing. So it's just going to go like this. And it's going to make that illusion of rotation. So if I release this clipping path, we can actually see all of the different shapes that we have in here. So again, we have the pattern, which is all of these rectangles. We have the gradient over here to help with the kind of like the 3D illusion. We have the metal part of the pencil down here, and then we also have the 2 lines that we can actually put in here as well. So I'm just gonna drop them in this group too. And then we have the metal gradient, which is gonna be this very subtle gradient that we have over the metal. And then finally, to mask this whole thing, we just need the body mask, which is just like the shape of our pencil here. So if I paint this any color, this is black, it's basically just the shape that we need for the pencil. So I'm just gonna select it. It doesn't matter what color it is, because it's going to turn into the actual mask. And then I'm gonna select my folder that contains my pattern, my gradient, my metal part, and I'm just gonna create a clipping path here. That way, everything, like, it's just gonna show the contents when we are, this is kind of like a window and then we see only the contents when they're showing through the window. So when we move the inner parts, we only see the parts that are moving inside of it. So in this case, we only want to move the pattern so everything else stays in place. And then finally, we have the tip of the pencil, which is going to be a couple of masks. So I'm going to release them here so we can analyze how this is built out. So we basically have one for the actual wood down here. Let me just release everything here. So we have one for the wood. So this is like the actual mask that we're gonna use to mask the actual shape that we're gonna see, which is this one down here. So, you know, this one, it doesn't matter again what color it is. And then we have the actual color that we're gonna see. And then we have the gradient over the wood. We have the tip, which is kind of like this not perfectly rounded circle. You're gonna see in a minute why it's like this. And then we also have the actual pencil tip, which is going to be the mask that hides all of these elements. So this is just a triangle for the actual final shape of the tip of our pencil. So what we want to do here is select our wood mask once it's on top of the gradient and the actual wood that we want to see. And then I'm going to select the gradient and the wood, and I'm going to create a clipping path. That way, wait, I didn't select the right thing. Wood mask, wood gradient, and wood. And I'm going to create a clipping path. And then I'm going to select the pencil tip, which is going to hide the rest of the elements inside another mask. So this way, when we move the wood here, so that way when we move both the actual wood layer and the wood mask, we can call this one, we're gonna be able to see they have to move together. So we're gonna see the rotation illusion here. And then we're also going to see for this tip, we're going to add a rotation animation. So it's going to look like it's kind of like moving a little bit. You're gonna see it in action in just a bit. So I'm gonna name this one pencil tip. Now I'm going to collapse everything so it stays out of the way for a minute. And then let's start the actual animation. This is gonna be the fun part, I promise. Now that we understand how to clip our different shapes inside of the masks, now we can begin animating the actual contents of these masks. So this way, when I select my wood and my actual wood mask here, I can animate it like this with a position animation. And then I can grab the tip of like the actual color of the pencil, and then I'm going to do a rotation animation. And that's why I was saying the little imperfect circle here is going to create that illusion that, you know, there's some kind of movement there. It's not like a perfect circle, which, you know, wouldn't be realistic. And then finally, we also have a shadow behind the pencil, which we're also going to be animating. So let's start animating the different parts inside of our masks. Now, the first thing I want to add here is my animation for the smiley eraser. So I'm going to go to my eraser group here. I'm going to find my eraser face, and I'm going to expand my timeline here. And I'm going to add a position animation. And I'm going to go all the way to 4 seconds here. I'm going to add another keyframe, and I'm going to move this all the way until the third smiley face is in the middle of the eraser. So if we play that, it's just going to it already looks like it's kind of rotating, right? So, and then it's just going to loop. So that was pretty easy, right? Let's do the next one. We don't need to do anything else with the eraser, so we can just lock that. The cool thing is that it goes away. So, you know, once you have a bunch of different animations here, it's kind of, you know, gets cramped a little bit. So let's do now the body rotation illusion. So let's grab the pattern and we're gonna do exactly the same that we did with the smiley face. So I'm gonna go to animate and position, make sure you're selecting the pattern, and I'm gonna go all the way to 4 seconds. I'm gonna add another keyframe, and then I'm gonna bring that to maybe around here. Now for this to look like it's a perfect loop, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a measurement here, because the way it ends here and the way it begins here rather, and the way it ends here, like in terms of the pattern inside of the pencil or inside of the mask, it needs to be the same so the loop looks seamless. So I'm gonna use a quick guide here to help me with that. So the initial position, we could do, maybe put it like right here, right in the middle of this little section of the serrated section of the wood there. And then once I get to here, we can do the same. So maybe like around here. Now with that, it should be pretty seamless when we play it. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Cool. Now let's continue with the next part. Again, we don't need to do anything else to the pattern or any of the parts of the pencil because it already looks like it's rotating. So I'm going to lock my body all folder, and let's continue now to the next part. So we have the tip of the pencil. Let's see what kind of animation we can add here, and guess what? It's gonna be the same. So it's gonna be the wood and the wood mask, and these two need to stay together. So it always looks like this, because what happens if I only move the wood is, it's not gonna look like it, the actual shapes are not gonna match. So we need to make sure we're adding the same animation to both the wood shape and the wood mask here. So we can do it at the same time. We're gonna go again to animate position. We're gonna go forward to 4 seconds and then add the keyframes here. And we're gonna grab both of them and bring them to... We kind of have to do the same thing that we did for the pencil for it to loop seamlessly. So let's use a guide one more time. So if we're over here and we start right here, we need to make sure that when it ends, it's in the same position there. So probably around here. And now we can play it, can get rid of this. We can play it, make sure it looks seamless. It looks like there's a little bit of a jump there. Yeah, so let's try again. Let's see again if make sure that they're aligned in the right place, and maybe we don't have to bring it all the way there. I mean, it looks almost like it's at the right place. Let me make sure I'm selecting both. Should be right in the middle. All right, now let's animate the tip of the actual pencil. So I'm going to select the wood and the mask here. So we have to make sure those two layers are together, because the two shapes need to kind of like stay together here, or you don't want that happening. So we can actually add the position animation at the same time. So I'm gonna add a position animation. I'm gonna go forward to 4 seconds one more time, and then add the keyframes. And then with both selected, I'm gonna go forward. We can use the same guide that we were using before. And then just make sure that we're going to the same point so it looks seamless. I'm just gonna move it back slightly because it's jumping a little bit, or actually forward slightly. It's jumping a little bit, and then that should do it. Okay, now that we have here, let's see, the next thing we need to do is the actual tip of the pencil, like the colored part here. This one's gonna be pretty easy. So all we have to do is find the tip layer here, and we're going to add a rotation animation. So let's find rotate here. And once again, we're gonna go all the way to 4 seconds. We're gonna add a keyframe, and we're gonna do a full turn here. So just gonna be one full turn. And that way, as the pencil rotates, we can kind of see like the imperfections of the tip there, which makes it look like it's just like a very subtle thing that happens, but makes it look really nice. So now that we have this, that's pretty much all of the things that we need to make the pencil look like it's rotating. But let's actually take this one step beyond just the rotation, and let's make it a little more exciting. So I'm gonna grab my entire pencil group here, and I'm also going to add a position animation. So like I said in the beginning, this is going to float and kind of like rotate a little bit. So first, I'm gonna animate the position, so it could do something maybe like, let's make sure the origin point is down here or somewhere in this area, because even though our pencil, like the visible part of our pencil, is only this, still the masks are like this size that we see here. So let's just make sure that we are grabbing the origin point, like we put it here, maybe over the eraser. 1 second, let's go up a little bit. And I don't want this movement to be so perfectly linear, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of a curve here. And then maybe it takes a little bit longer at some point, it slows down. So we go down towards this side, can make it also kind of like a weird circle we can do here. And then at 4 seconds, we just go back to the original place where we had it. So we can just copy and paste that first keyframe. And let's see what that looks like so far. Let's play the animation. And it's kind of, it looks like it's bouncing a little bit. So in the middle here, from 1 second to 2.5, it kind of like slows down a little bit. And then like from 0 to 1, it's a little faster. So, we can have a little bit of a variation in speed to just make it look a little more interesting. Very subtle things, but they all add to the animation effect. And then we can also do a rotation animation here. So this is 0 degrees now, but we can do from 0 to 2, maybe we go -10, and then maybe over here at 0 we start at 10, we go -10, then we go back to 10. So it kind of like goes left to right. Yeah, that's looking nice. Looks like it's rotating, our little smiley face rotating. And now finally we do have this shadow. It might be a little bit hard to actually see it. So I'm gonna bring the opacity I have here to 100%, just so we can actually see the opacity, or like the actual shadow. And this is the last detail I'm gonna add to this, and this is gonna be it for this animation. So we're pretty close to being done here. And I wanted to, since the shadow is already in the pencil group, it's already following the pencil very nicely, but we can actually make this a little more interesting by making the shadow go, if the light source is coming from one side, but our pencil is kind of like tilting to the opposite side, you would expect the shadow to be on the opposite side at some point, right? So what I'm gonna do is select my shadow here and animate its position. So once we get to the opposite side where the pencil is tilted to the left here, I want the position to go this way. And then I'm just gonna copy the initial keyframe, put it at 4 seconds. And then that way the shadow looks like, you know, it's actually moving in space a little bit better. And then we could even add one more thing here, a scale animation. So we can scale that shadow down a little bit to make it look like it's kind of getting closer to the surface behind it. So let's do that here. And then, so our scale here is 1.05 when it's right in the middle. So let's say maybe we can bring that up to, let's try 15 here. Maybe not here, maybe at like the first part here. Let's try. Let's see what we can come up with. I think 15 is like way too much. Maybe something like that. And then it kind of like gets smaller here. And then I'm just gonna copy and paste the same keyframes I have and see what that looks like. So I'm basically scaling that shadow to simulate like the pencil's going a little bit farther or closer to the surface behind it as it moves in the 3D space. And yeah, that's basically it. We have a rotating pencil with all of its parts rotating in space and a shadow. We can bring that opacity back to around 55% to make it a little more subtle. And we have the illusion that this is actually a 3D shape, but it's just masks and a bunch of position animations. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And we can see it here. If we try to export it here, we can actually see a little bit bigger here. And yeah, there we have it. That is how we create and animate SVG masks in SVGator, using different clipping path groups and animating its content. Now you have the tools to bring to life your 2D artwork and make it look like it's 3D. If you enjoyed this content and you found this helpful, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to never miss a tutorial. If you have any questions, drop your comment below and I'll catch you in the next one.